I want to welcome all the new people and the existing people of the LIFPN. For those of you who are new to this organization, the Long Island Accounting and Financial Planning Network is a group of financial service professionals in various fields, including insurance, legal, accounting, forensic accounting, mortgages, payroll, and our goal is to educate on a regular basis, topical information that apply to all our fields, and also to help collaborate and be in a position as a resource. All our members get introductions to people they would like to meet, and all of that leads to business, and all of that leads to financial knowledge. And the biggest thing we can do for our clients is we all don't know everything, but we have the resources here to help you with any client situation. And today's presentation, and we encourage you to join the membership to the LIFPN so that we can continue to have quality speakers, continue to make introductions, and continue to do business. So with that in mind, the last year has certainly been a very interesting year with COVID. I don't have to tell any of you, and it's transformed all of our businesses, and including the LIFPN, which went to Zoom meetings every other week. We were doing them every week in the beginning. And I credit a lot of it and the pivoting of our organization, my business personally as well, to our speaker today, Rob Fishman. And one of the things that he said a year ago in a presentation he gave, he asked me a question and I took it to heart. He says, "What kind of bird are you?" And what kind of bird am I? What do you mean? He says, are you a chicken running around with your head cut off? Are you an ostrich, you know, with your head in the sand? Or are you going to be an eagle? And what COVID has taught us is to be eagles, is that we have to fly above what's going on today and figure out ways to communicate with people that we haven't had to do. It kind of forced us into this big technological world that we weren't accustomed to, and to our betterment for a lot of us. And for many of us, they still have their head in the sand. And for a lot of others, they're still trying to figure out what to do. So I think Rob was instrumental in pivoting his business, which is a training business and a marketing business, in teaching people how to market and how to train and how to be present in today's world and in the future, because we now have to plan forever in this new reality. It's never going back to exactly the way it was. Yes, we all love the cocktail meetings, we love the get-togethers, we all love the face-to-face, but at the end of the day, we've had to adapt. And we hope to come back to that this June or July, or, you know, as soon as possible, at least attempted to have those face-to-face meetings like we're used to having. So with no further ado, I do want to introduce you and bring you to Rob Fishman, who's now on the board of the LIFPN and is very instrumental in the marketing side of all our businesses, whether you're a CPA, attorney, accountant, or mortgage broker, or insurance wholesaler, or insurance salesman. His information is valuable and applies to every business. So with that, Rob, take it away, babe.
Well, thank you, Neil, for that warm introduction, and actually for listening for what I said about the bird analogy, which is just so true about we want to look at ourselves as being eagles. So guys, I'm going to hit the ground running this morning. I've got a lot of content I want to share with you, what I'm seeing, what we're being asked by clients about improving the way that we're appearing on the whole thing called Zoom or Microsoft Teams, or whatever you're using right now. To Neil's point, things are not going back to what they were. The idea of going in one-on-one meetings in offices will resume. We don't know to what extent, but we're seeing significant change in the way we're doing business. So I want to share some insights and some sort of strategic as well as tactical things. I prepared some content, some materials. I'm also going to get you thinking about the way that you're running your virtual meetings. I am going to ask you to get that chat ready, because I'm going to ask for you to use the chat for some of the answers to some questions to help you and your business to take it one step higher, to identify some of the goals. What are some of the things that you could be doing more effectively, or your team, if you've got other people in your organization, and for you to identify some of the kind of faux pas or mistakes that are being made constantly on Zoom. You know, at the end of the day, what I've learned is you can't a second time make a good first impression. So with all of our new business development activities and meetings this year is let's put our best foot forward. So some of them are meant to be comical. We're going to have a little bit of fun this morning. Before we even get started, you'll probably be looking at my setup that is right behind me right now. And you may have questions about what the setup looks like and how much do I need to invest in order for me to do that? What are some of the common mistakes we're seeing that people are using or not using correctly? I'm going to talk a little bit today about the use of video, which has become just instrumental for business development activities, and maybe some hesitations you might have or restrictions you might have depending on compliance that might prohibit you from using video. But I want to point out some of that stuff too. So let's talk about my background. If you are aware of what Zoom can do, is you can actually upload custom backgrounds depending on what your business model is. Now, it can be meant for marketing purposes. Like, for example, I'm a classically trained musician, so I got a piano behind me. But if I want to talk to an international sales team overseas, I might use some backgrounds. If we are not going into politics, somehow I put that up there. Can anybody tell me what this background is?
Theater?
You guys, the most spoken words of 2020, by the way, were "you're on mute." Go ahead. This is the, I think everybody's
Today's
muted.
show.
Today's show. That's actually, yeah, it's Jimmy Fallon, right? Okay. Let's try another one.
That's Queen.
It's Queen. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's try. Let's see. All right. How about this one?
Ooh.
Abbey Road.
Abbey Road.
Okay. Here's another one.
Seinfeld.
Okay. Got it. So as you can see that you can really put any kind of background, you know, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Been there.
All right. So you certainly, this is kind of a cheeky one, right? But, you know, why do I do this? For some of it, it's kind of cool and fun, but I want you to notice the resolution of the background. To me, it's because I am using a green screen. So if you're able to get your hands on a green screen, I believe for about $70 on Amazon, you can get one. This one is about 6.5 feet tall and about 7 feet wide. So I can actually raise my Varidesk if I want to stand. When I train, I do a lot of standing. So I'm sitting this morning, but you can do that. So the clarity, as you can see behind my head, is very crisp. Also, there's a couple of lights in front of me. There's 1, 2, 3 floodlights. They're actually not at me. They're behind the screen, which is what makes it a little bit more sharper on the image. So if you have any other questions about this, I'm happy to answer them for you. But you can see also for branding purposes that your logo or your company logo, you really want it next to you so that when people see you on Zoom, if you're having a meeting with a new client, for example, you have some sort of credibility that's built into your slides right behind her. Does that make some sense? Okay. Now, there are some other fun things you can do on Zoom. Let's, for example, I can shut off my video, which is some of you done. But there's a video filter for the new version. So in other words, if there are some little silly things we can do as well. You know, just if you guys are aware of this, I play this with the prospect and salesperson model, right? Walk the plank if you want, all right? If I want to change my accent, of course, I can go to France, all right? So all of these are available for you on Zoom. Some of them, you're not going to be using this with clients, I gather, right? But they're there for you on the latest version of Zoom. Now, let me go ahead and share my screen and talk about what we're going to be covering in my session today. And it really is overall about how you're going to leverage technology. Technology is the predominant and preeminent disruptive force in how we do business. And the question is, well, am I going to be technology savvy, technology dependent, technology agnostic? You know, do I put my head in the sand and say, all right, this technology thing will blow over? But what's really fascinating is that the majority of my clients now are technology firms who are getting money and they're investing in infrastructure, they're investing in expansion, and they're also investing in new applications that are coming out daily. And they're just awesome. One of my clients is a company called Fulcrum. And Fulcrum writes an app So in other words, you could download this free app. If you're in a construction business, that it'll actually create the software and forms for you if you're out in the field, for example. And I'm now working with the sales team, and they have a new model, which is a consumer or product-led growth model. And the app is part of that. And then they hit the paywall, and then there's a sales process there. So what's happening now is that new technology is coming out. Now, how does that change the way we do business? It's pretty significant. And I'll give you some things about that as we go today. Now, my upfront contract, what I teach all the time is mutual agreement at the beginning of a meeting, setting expectations as we begin today. And I want to set my expectations with you. It happens. I might have a technical issue. I will tell you that I'm doing this from the brains of my technology is a MacBook Pro that 2 weeks ago completely died in the middle of a training. Died. The battery went bad. It had to go back to Apple. They replaced it. But I may experience technical issues. And let's all also please make sure your camera being on. Personally speaking, in business meetings, camera on is a sign of respect. And again, I don't mean disrespect to people that have their camera off. It may be that they're going to be doing other things or eating, that kind of stuff. I get it. But usually at business meetings, one of our caveats is, as a sign of mutual respect, let's put on the camera. I asked you guys to participate. I also invite that. Be quick to respond. And also my goal today is to add some value to the way that you're looking at technology. You may want to share this with your colleagues, okay? We are going to finish on time. Again, we know this. I have a lot to say. I may go a couple of minutes over, but Neil's going to get the hook through the screen to pull me off the podium. Agenda today, running a solid meeting. For any new business development strategies, how do I prospect on using Zoom? How do I have and run virtual meetings? Or in fact, for some of us are running a sales call. So here's what I want you to do. Take the chat for all of you. Is on a scale of 1 to 10 in the chat, how would you rate your virtual meeting skills right now? 1 is, I suck at it. 10 is, I am a ninja and I could be teaching this class this morning. And by the way, I'm not a 10. All right. I'm getting some 5s. I got an 8 from Tim. Tim, I'm going to hand this to you, man. You probably should do the session because he's probably going to do a better job than me. Phil gave me a 7. Dan and Shulman 7. Ed 6. All right. So some, if you just think about the ability for me to give you maybe one little nugget that might get that score up 1 point, then I think it was worth your time. So Tim, stand by because I may be calling on you to run the rest of the meeting. All right. Okay. So here we go. Here are some of the challenges that we've seen. Okay. The guy, obviously, with no pants on. There have been a number of embarrassing stories. Also, the wife that's on a very important business meeting and the guy struts in his underwear. I heard you undoubtedly heard about the guy with an interview where his kids comes busting in the door. You'll see the two on the right, and these are the big faux pas about Zoom and how people certainly you're going to look at yourselves on the camera right now. And by the way, studies show if you have group meetings, how many of you know how to hide your self view? Anybody know how to do that? If you go to Zoom and click on the upper right-hand corner, because sometimes we find ourselves looking at ourselves in the camera during a meeting, which could be distracting for some. If you go to the upper right-hand corner of Zoom and click on the 3 blue dots, you're going to see hide self view at the bottom and your view is gone. Everybody will see you, but you don't see yourself. And for some people, it allows them to not be focused on how they appear on camera. If you know the height of the top of the screen and to the side, also some of you, I can see up your nostrils. In other words, the camera angle's going this way. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of looking straight at you. So that's the overhead light guy. If you've got some lights behind you, no doubt it's going to darken your face and the light is blinding. So we don't want to have that also. And you can see by the right side, some of the other mistakes that are made. So running a meeting, here are some of the things I've heard about, listen, I needed to upgrade my home office. Now, when COVID hit last March and everything got locked down, bandwidth issues were happening, right? In other words, your home Wi-Fi wasn't able to accommodate your computer. Does anybody raise your hand if you had that kind of an issue where you found that in the message, had that kind of thing happen. That wasn't real. I was making that up. Software wasn't really able to keep up with it. But what we found is getting to people to realize that they need to develop new skills. So in leadership training I've done, as well as sales teams I've been working with, they had to get their act together quickly about how to create rapport through the screen, how to be able to communicate effectively, body language. There was a great article that came in that an FBI agent was writing an article about virtual dating using Zoom, right? It was just like what to look for, you know, how can you tell if somebody's sincere by the shape of their eyes or how much or how little they smile. So you're trying to reading the cues through technology. So here's what's happening. People are getting really good at this and they're getting better and better. So we're finding also that remote selling, for some of you that are doing remote business development, it's still a work in progress. It is rapidly being developed as we speak. In other words, if we're not paying a careful attention to what's happening, we might get left in the dust. So what I'd like to know from you, and I'd like to open this up for a conversation, is what are some of your virtual meeting pet peeves? I mean, what's the stuff you find just annoying or bothersome? So let me open it up. Take yourselves off mute. What are some of the things that you see are some of the challenges? We got a small enough group here this morning, so we can just chat about a couple of things. So what are some of your pet peeves?
I hate when somebody's screen actually freezes up.
Got it. Okay. Freezing screen. Okay. What else?
When you could actually tell when people are not paying attention.
I'm sorry. What'd you say? I'm just kidding.
Great. Good.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Or how about this device, right? You know, all of a sudden, so what do I do to keep people engaged? Because if they're checked out, right? And you can see the reason why it's so important to be asking more questions and getting more out on the table. Otherwise, if I'm checked out, I'm going to sit back, I'm picking up my phone and I am not listening to you. All right. And by the way, there's great ways we can hide the phone away from people, you know, that we don't really see that I've got the cell phone out or my iPad over here. All right, good. What else?
Can't find the mute button.
Yeah, can't find the mute button. The most commonly spoken words I said before, Tim, I hear you, brother, right? You're on mute. And how do we do that? So some of you may know this. This space bar on your computer can be activated to be your mute or off mute. So in other words, if you're on mute right now, Larry, I want you to try it. All right, Larry Bloom. I want you to, you're not on mute, you're on mute now. I want you to hold down your space bar and see if it works. Okay, so just so you guys know, so you don't have to go, oh, shoot, I gotta go flick a gun. Just hit the space bar and then let it go. So that's how you
Thank you.
come into the conversation, come out of the conversation. All right, any other pet peeves? Okay, Neil, I'm gonna be done very early this morning. Okay, so specific, here's the tools, right? Well, here's what we know. Check your bandwidth. Do a speed test on your internet at home, all right? But be careful because speed test invites really bad malicious websites, all right? So just be careful when you do that, all right? Headset or microphone. Some of you, actually none of you are using headsets or you know, look at the type of microphone you have. Are you using the computer's microphone or are you investing in one? I spent about $350 in an Apogee mic. Do I sound clear? You know, it's a pretty good mic. Set boundaries around work if you're working from home. A number of you are back in the office. Some who are working from home is really very, very clear about setting work boundaries. In other words, even though my office, of which we've been paying a lot of rent for the past 14 months, I've been there just to pick up the mail, we're working from home. So my virtual office is from anywhere. And I say this with respect to Warren, Aviva, Ed, Jeffrey, Alan, and Avtar, that cameras on is always nice to have. There's always a reason why we don't turn it on. But one of my requirements when I do any kind of training and working with teams is cameras got to be on. You'll see the lower left-hand side of witness protection. And this is a byproduct of having light behind you, all right? Now, Tim, in your case, you've got light behind you, but you've got light on you, right? So in other words, I don't want to have dark sockets in my eyes. I want to have sort of a full frontal like Daniel. Daniel's got light on him, right? On one side of his face versus a little bit of darkness towards the other side of the face. Do you see that? So in other words, the light source should be coming from, and it should be diffused light. Again, if you want to look on some of the sites like Amazon, they sell these lights that they have, which are really, I have an umbrella reflective light and a diffused light in the middle, so that the light is not creating shadows on my face. So you want to do that. Talk about virtual backgrounds. I did that before. I gave you a litany of them. choose a virtual background or a few. You can upload virtual backgrounds on Zoom. It's easy to do, whether it's a screenshot or a JPEG file. You can easily just, and by the way, there's great websites if you want to write some down. One is unsplash.com. Like unsplash.com will give you, these are some of my unsplash.com virtual backgrounds. Here's one I use a lot. So I did a training with a team yesterday. I use this. There's another one on Unsplash you can get. They're kind of cool, funky offices. Some are kind of more high tech or modern. So you also, here's one I use quite often if I want to appear smart, like Neil. So these are all on unsplash.com. All right, so you can look over there if you want to do that. All right, going back to my presentation. Self-awareness, you'll notice the camera angle and where it's coming in rather than up or down. So we want to be aware. My mom, God bless her, 88 years old. She did an interview for the Holocaust Center. She's a Holocaust survivor. And I'm on the board of the Holocaust Center. I'm a vice chairman. And they wanted to interview her because we donated a clock to the museum that was from Paris and World War II. And my mom didn't realize that the camera on an iPad is on the left side of the iPad. So it looked like this. So what do I say? Should I say it now? Okay, so it didn't really work out that well. Okay. So enhancing remote meeting skills, let me give you some suggestions here. In other words, has anybody here, show of hands, made any upgrades into any of the tools we're using now? Larry, what have you done?
I bought a standalone mic. I bought wired internet into the home and into the office. I picked up a better camera and a better set of speakers.
Better set of speakers, good. Okay, so you've made some improvements. Suggestion, so this is a Bose MicroLink. It's about 80 bucks. And I use this for an external speaker, and the Apogee mic is over here as well. So yeah, if you get a speaker, why not? I mean, if you have an opportunity, if you're gonna work on remote all day, if you're using headphones all day, it really can be exhausting. So think of the platforms you can use, which are ones that you're good at. I'm gonna talk a little bit about video today, and video, how it's just become explosive in business opportunities. So I'll chat a little bit more about that as we go. Knowing how to mute yourselves, you know how to do that. You got the space bar little cheat, which I gave you today. But how are you guys at sending calendar invites, links and agendas? Recently, we downloaded, and now we have HubSpot now. We have a license for HubSpot, which is, anybody here of HubSpot? Okay. An amazing platform and just incredible because of what the capabilities are. As a CRM, as a marketing tool, it has just so much to it. It's robust. One of the things that we did buy is Calendly. Calendly is another app where it will create links to schedule meetings for you. So when somebody wants to speak with me and wants to talk to me about a team they want me to work with, I would, they'll say, hey, I got your name through Bob Smith. Want to talk to you about my team, right? And I say, hey, great to be introduced to you. I'm happy to chat. Let me give you my Calendly link, click on it and get on my calendar. So this way we don't go back and forth with, well, how's Tuesday at 4 o'clock? Well, no, well, how's Wednesday at 9? It's very simple. They click on my Calendly link and it pops up my calendar for them, and they will put a 30-minute or 60-minute or 15-minute on my calendar. I'm using it now with LinkedIn. If I connect with somebody on LinkedIn, how many of us, show of hands, are connected to people on LinkedIn you have never spoken to?
Yep.
I mean, you think about that, and like, wow, if I got a lot of first degree connections, we've agreed to connect with each other, but we don't really know each other. So part of the process now that we put in place is, well, let's put 15 minutes, a get to know you call. In other words, if we're connected to people, and that's our inventory and currency we deal with when it comes to social networking, which is technology, well, as part of my process to spend a few minutes to get to know each other. Click on my Calendly link, and there you go. So I can kind of pull it up. Let me show you what it looks like. You guys interested in this? Yes?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. because again, I don't want to bore you. All right, so here's my Calendly. Can you see it now? So for example, if one of you said, hey, Rob, I'd like to get on your calendar. Let's have a conversation, get to know each other. I go here, want a 30-minute meeting? Okay. I copy the link and I email it. As simple as that. And it goes right on to an email, done. So those are some of the technology platforms we're seeing right now. The ability to share and unshare your screen. If you are doing a presentation, if you are talking to a potential client, you want to show them some sort of deliverables, how easily back and forth are you able to stop your share and be able to, go out of share and then go back in again. It's something I suggest that people practice and get pretty good at, again, because you don't want any hiccups in the presentation. I've done whiteboarding, which is another great way to do it. All right. In other words, I could take an iPad or a screen and sort of write and whiteboard with some prospects and some potential clients. So if you think about, what is some best practices you have for running virtual meetings? Anybody want to share? What's a best practice you want to share? Tim, I'm going to go to you because you scored yourself very high.
You might want to take yourself off of mute.
Hit the space bar.
My space bar wasn't working.
Oh, you probably may want to check your settings in Zoom. Go ahead.
It worked, yeah. When you did it with Larry, it worked before. It didn't work this time. That's weird. So, I'm sorry. What was the question again? Best practice?
Yeah, just like you think about what's something you would share with the group about as a best practice.
Be on time. Be on the call before everyone else is. Don't be 5, 10, 15 minutes late into a call.
Yep. Kind of like what I did this morning, right, Neil?
Exactly.
I'm a music director. So we did a synagogue production about 20 years ago. And my trumpet player, I was Fiddler on the Roof, right? And my trumpet player, Barry, showed up at 2 minutes to the stroke of 8:00 p.m. Right? He would just stroll in. And I said to the orchestra members, you got to be here at 7:30, right? I mean, I need to see you in a seat before the people even come in, right? And the guy habitually would be like, what's the problem? And he would show up, and certainly he'd have his horn out of his case, mouthpiece in, tuned up, ready to go right at the stroke of 8:00. The guy gave me a heart attack. All right. So any other best practices?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like to prepare all of my share screens in advance, so I have everything ready.
Excellent. Yep. Okay. And anybody else?
Adam,
Yeah, so just putting your Calendly link in your signature of your emails, it's super helpful because then you don't even have to copy and paste. I know, like for you, Rob, you have a ton of different organizations you're a part of. So you want to send the applicable link, but if you can set up kind of a structure of, I guess, more general events for people, that
Great.
definitely helps.
Good stuff. Good to see you, Adam. Yeah, that's
See you.
another popular one. For some, if we put that on, get on my calendar, here's what happens. We get a lot of, you look at your calendar and it's completely filled, right? So we want to be pretty judicious about how we do that. Let's talk about sort of prospecting, because we did some surveys and I want to kind of share with you what's going on here. As I might have shared on a previous session that Neil invited me to speak about, was the focus on new business development now is more than ever. And when Harvard University did a study about the top performing sales professionals, they broke it into 4 categories. If you're taking notes, this is a good time to take some notes. And they broke it into 4 categories of prospecting, selling, client services, and administrative tasks. Now, for the business owners here, your administrative is going to be higher than just prospecting, but they wanted to know how much time people are spending in those categories. And it was the top 7% of selling professionals who really were crushing it. They were spending at least 50% of their time in new business development. Now, you could say, I don't have time to do that. I don't have time for new clients. I've got a lot of my own clients already. But we know is that there is some attrition that's going to occur. But if we really want to look at ways to grow business, because this is what I've been suggesting to companies all last year, is new business development strategies must come first and foremost. And everything that we need to do, including the way that we appear online and virtually, needs to be as good as it possibly can, especially now. So what we know now is that getting people on the phone is even more difficult than ever, right? Because there's no more receptionists picking up for the most part. It's maybe my CEO is at home in his shorts or her shorts or, running suit, and there's no receptionist around. So getting people on the phone, people were finding that is a little bit more of a challenge. So there's some new alternatives that is being done right now. For example, what we know that the journey of the client is through these steps. Awareness of you and your offerings. How do you get to them? Yeah, that's where Adam kicks in, right? Social posts. What am I writing? What's the content I'm giving out there? What videos am I putting out there? There's statistics about videos that I'll share that are staggering in a couple of minutes. Infographics about you and your firm or your clients. Now, am I educating people out there by knowledge, webinars, podcasts? Like I think about Larry Sherr, right? What are some of the top mistakes that you see that people make when it comes to the area of law that you practice, right? Just tell me one biggest mistake that people make.
I think clients go to their average attorney to get estate planning documents done. Maybe 1% of the attorneys out there know what the hell they're doing.
Okay, and now let's put in the words as a result. As a result, what happens?
They get poor documents and they have to get them redone.
Okay, so in other words, there is a pain indicator, we'll call that, right? So in other words, that's by knowledge without trying salesy, right? But now I've got social proof where I've got clients, I've got reviews. In other words, are people giving you testimonial about the work that you've done? Now I understand in the world of financial services, I've done a lot of work in there, is that's a no-no. I can't do that. Experience, do I have assessments and demos? What am I doing on the new business side? Okay, and protecting and expand my current. I think I did a talk for you guys on CARE, which is an account management strategy. It stands for keep, attain, recapture, and expand opportunities. And that's all about and then positioning for referrals. I'm blowing through this because I want you to see that it's not just about a simple linear process, but there's a lot of facets to the journey itself of a client. Now, again, what have you guys done differently for business development? Since COVID struck, what have you done differently? And you guys are welcome to use the chat. So let's go back to the chat and just start typing in, well, what have you done differently over the past 12 months, if at all? And if it's anything any different, put it in. If not, you can just write the same. Haven't changed much. Let me open the chat over here, close this. And let's see, let me give you some music. All right, got Zoom events replacing in-person events. Yeah, everybody's doing Zoom stuff, right? Advertising, Zoom meetings, YouTube, social media. Yep, more social media videos, mostly the same additional computer time from Larry. Phil joined the Zoom-based networking group. Yeah, how many of us are doing networking on Zoom, right? I mean, I did a speaking engagement last Wednesday night, 2 Wednesday nights ago at the Muttontown Club. I haven't been in front of a live audience in a year, right? I haven't worn slacks in a year. It was really, and a sport jacket. It was like, wow. So those are some of the things that we're seeing about what is it you're doing differently now. But let me show you a couple things. Here's CARE. Listening for opportunities, using, for example, social mentions, LinkedIn, for example. I noticed 2 attorneys I know that just moved from one firm to another firm. I gave them kudos on LinkedIn, right? Congratulations. That's all. It's a little social mention. We've got company LinkedIn pages. Again, am I following other company LinkedIn pages? Am I certainly aware of what's happening out there? If I'm putting myself out on social media, I will tell you my business partner is awesome at this. A job change or a job anniversary? Does it give you a chance to reconnect with somebody? Are we staying top of mind? Top of mind will lead to people thinking of you and a re-engagement. If you think about your inventory of LinkedIn connections, how often do we bloom where planted, that we go back and talk and engage? So all of these things are all about that. In some cases for private equity funding, we're staying very, very close to hearing about any private equity because we work very closely with private equity firms. So here are some other ways I want to share this with you. Multi-channel 2.0. Here's where we go now. How many of you are aware of an application called Clubhouse, other than Adam? Okay. So Clubhouse is an app that is all audio. And you can actually go into Clubhouse. If you have an iOS device, you can load it. And there are all sorts of conversations going on here. For example, entrepreneur millionaire secrets. It could be health and wellness. It could be fitness. I could start my own room. Should I drink this 14-year-old bottle of vitamin water, right? But all sorts of rooms that are in here where you can connect with people and you could actually become a speaker and an expert yourself. I was on this morning and the room had 350 people in it. And it was an entrepreneur out of the UK. So in other words, it's another way that people are communicating. And again, are we staying on top of the changing trends? Clubhouse is exploding. And it is now to a point where LinkedIn is now investing money and resources to compete with Clubhouse. So again, it's one of those things that just we're seeing. We started a Sandler Mentors Clubhouse room. So we're now jumping in the game. And I suggest the same, if applicable in your world, let your clients know about it, but also stay aware of it. Referrals and introductions is another one. I know we talk about this all the time about data mining your contacts. Let me talk about Vidyard now. How many of you are aware of Vidyard? Vidyard is a free, that is FREE app, and it is allowing you to do videos without you having to go into a lot of post-production. You can record it at your desk using the camera on your computer. You can record it one of three ways. It could be you alone on a screen. For example, I met 21 salespeople for the first time yesterday. I am sending them a Vidyard after I finish this talk to say, hey guys, really enjoyed working with you yesterday for our first kickoff session for the year. Here are some takeaways that you shared with me. Boom, 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 boom. I got the takeaways recorded. I'm going to send them a video. I'm going to CC the CEO and I'm going to say, hey, look forward to seeing you next week at our another session, right? It'll take me maybe 2 minutes to record it, send it by email. So that's one way. Another way is I could actually have a screen and I could be a little avatar off to the side pointing to the screen, and it could be something you can put up there as well. So Vidyard is a brilliant platform. Now, there are other programs out there in addition to Vidyard, but here are some of the statistics about it. There's a 200% response rate. There's a 95% retention rate in terms of click-throughs on websites. You actually can see who opened it and who didn't. There's actually an 80% click-through rate. In other words, going to other sites or going to your website. So again, I'm covering this just big picture to give you the power here. I just got this morning, it was on LinkedIn, that they put out a benchmark report as to video in business and how it is the next wave. And are we riding the wave of technology? Are we using video? Interestingly enough, the highest degree of videos that had the highest response were between 30 and 60 seconds in length. That's it. In other words, my son, who's now working for a company in California, told me he was a media and electronic media and film major in college, went to Towson University. Every time I would show him a video, he would say, Dad, it's too long. What do you mean? It's 4 minutes. It's too long. What are you, crazy? It's too long. And I started doing 30 to 60 second videos. And he said, now you're talking. That's all you need, because the audience now is checking out, and it actually shows in the benchmark report how the attention span drops off precipitously after 2 minutes. So if you are thinking of doing video, and if you're not doing video, you're thinking about why we're not doing it. Here's one thing we've learned. It doesn't matter if you misspeak. It doesn't matter if the frame is not right. One of the most watched videos in our network is one of our Sandler trainers who is a coach. He's a soccer coach. So he does this coaching moment from the sideline of a soccer game, and he's holding the phone like this, saying, hey guys, Jeff here, talking about coaching and sales, right? So it's very natural, and people are attracted to that. So if you have any kind of what we call self-limiting beliefs around using video, I would say, let's give it a shot. Vidyard is free. There's other apps. BombBomb is another one. I actually have another client by the name of ThankView, and that's a client that does for not-for-profits and universities. They actually sell programs of customized donor development programs. So there's ways you can go about this. I could email with video. We know then it's better than emailing alone because they get to see you. Another one of my clients sells websites, and they sell online stores. We now have created their online signature and their video signature, right? That they can click and they see a Vidyard pop up, and it'll say, Hi, my name's Tom. Work with this company. Our goal is to help people get online and get a business to run their own business and feel a sense of freedom, right? And if you're more interested, click on the link. All right. So there's a cadence you can see in terms of increasing your business development success. So I'm going to skip this because of time. Do you know what year this came out?
In the 80s, I would think.
Yeah. And actually there was one that came out in 1960 that was also, I think, of Walter Cronkite. There's some footage on that where it was the same principle that we could actually have a video and have a telephone at the same time. So in other words, this technology has been tried and true for a long time. People have wanted to do this, but now we have the technology and the bandwidth in order for us to really do it effectively. So when I talk about pre-meeting, here are some things that I want to give you some suggestions. Try this. You can actually do it on LinkedIn as well. You can send a message directly on LinkedIn right from your cell phone to somebody who's a first-degree connection. You can message them clicking the video link. But for some, for example, if you're going to have a meeting with somebody, send them a Vidyard. Hey, Neil, look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Here's a couple of things I got on schedule for our meeting. Look forward to seeing you then. 15 seconds, over and done. Post-meeting, instead of writing an email or instead of writing a handwritten note, send them a personalized video. All right. And by the way, one more thing is another sales technique, which I'll share for another day. Communication. Here's what it looks like. We know by study that 55% of our communication is physiological, our body movement, our arms. Are we showing our hands online? Interesting that a sign of trust in certain civilizations is the ability for people to see our hands or not. In other words, if we want to develop trust, and I ask this all the time, and I work with financial institutions such as banks or financial services, I'll say, what is your strategy to create trust with another human being? What does it look like? How do you create trust? If I can see your hands, it's different than if I don't see your hands. Interesting, just about physiology. 38% tonality. Tonality. We all know that if you're going to say something difficult, we have to lower our voice. And the words we speak are a very small percentage. Video, auditory, and kinesthetic are the three ways so that you guys understand how people are communicating on technology. Some people, for example, are auditory, they're hearing the words. Some of us need to see it, and some is sensory. Now, how can I relate all three during a virtual call, right? In other words, the visual, if the camera's on, visual's there. If it's not, then I'm relying entirely on auditory only. And kinesthetic, you know what it is in the world of kinesthetic? It's called the chat. Now, we've also done a lot of programs like Kahoot, which is another way, or Aha Slides. Those are technologies we use in our training so people stay engaged by picking up a phone and using the phone as part of the engagement. So maybe there's a way that we can start to envelop that, and that's part of the kinesthetic experience. So what I want to do is also talk a little bit more about this. The visuals you can use. How many of you guys, if you're using presentations, are using this, using PowerPoint? Okay, not many. What's interesting about PowerPoint is the biggest mistakes that are made on PowerPoint. And again, that could be a whole other session, Neil. But here's an example, for example. What visual can I use to help through the discovery process, which we call pain? Pain is personal, emotional, compelling reasons to change. The reason why people decide to work with us or our clients is because there's some issue or challenge they need resolved. And as a result of that, how do I facilitate that process using virtual means? For example, I could do this. You're approaching a school crossing and you should slow down and be careful and watch for children. I could do that. Or I could just do this. Does that make sense what I'm doing? Right? In other words, when you see that, I don't need to explain it. It's pretty common here. So part of the thing is that what comes to mind when you see this? What's the first word that comes to mind when you see the screen?
Confusing.
Say it again.
Confusing.
Confusing, okay. Right? So it has different meanings to different people. So I want to ensure that whatever visuals I'm using are clearly aligned with the message I want to bring across here. So if we talk about decision step, how many of us deal with multiple decision makers? If we're dealing with multiple decision makers, it gets kind of dicey here. So we talk about certainly timeline is when implementing your services or somebody else's. Who's involved? Their role, power, influence, and advocacy. And do I have them online? And how am I going to get my champion to help me leverage those people to join the call? Or is it going to be, you find out everything you know, and then I'll relay this back to the people that are making the decision? So this is where things get a little bit more complicated in decision. So I wanted to kind of like, before we go, talk about some lessons learned. I just did a complete information dump in your laps, but I'd like to do a little bit of a stop share, and I'm going to throw it back over the fence to Neil. And Neil, I would ask you to maybe facilitate, sort of like go around the room as to, hey, what are some things you might have picked up or an aha moment you might have gotten, whether it's strategic or tactical? What's something you take away from this? I call this the rule of recency. What's that one thing you got? Back to you, Neil.
Well, I can tell you the one thing I got in the last year is that my initial thought when I was running my business, I had to hire people internally to do all this. But I've learned in the last year to use outside resources, and many of them are right here in this room, so, or in this virtual space. So Rob has been a tremendous outside resource. Adam, who's on the call, has transformed my business completely, because Adam does all the technological Zoom setups and the email blasts and the video and the social media. And I didn't have to hire a person to be doing that in-house. I discovered that I can use parts of people's expertise to do the things that I'm not ready to step up and do myself. And that was my biggest learning experience. And I learned from every one of Rob's presentations, truly, Rob, not just from a marketing standpoint, a sales standpoint, of how to reposition everything and how to really focus on, hey, reach out to Rob. If you have a sales, if you have, 20 salespeople, 100 salespeople underneath you, and you want to know how to motivate and get them going and get them in this new world direction, Rob is a great resource for that. If you need to bring in technical assistance in some other areas,
Not myself.
and do that, so that's what I've learned. We can.
Thanks, Neil. All right, so let's go to Larry Bloom.
What have I learned? I'm sort of technologically challenged, but I'm getting better at it. Look, I'm doing Zoom meetings like every day now. It's like crazy. So, the virtual backgrounds, the Unsplash that you told us about today, I'm going to go check it out. It's funny, you mentioned the program. My wife has been all over my case for the last year and a half, BombBomb. She uses it in her business and she loves it. And she said it should be part of my email programs. And you could click through and see that if people are watching a 30-second infomercial or advice session, it would be very helpful. So one of these days I'm going to apply that.
Okay, sounds great. All right, Stephen Quirk.
Probably just some of the websites that you mentioned to add to the presentation itself, as well as change some of the sliding that I do and don't have.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Dan Schulman.
Definitely talk to me about that. Being on mute properly and making sure the lighting is correct.
Okay. Tim Kennedy.
The calendar. I spent a lot of time trying to coordinate my calendar and, and interact with other people. It's a mess, so I got to schedule that. Yep.
Yeah, it's Calendly. It's free for the first certain level. It's another one of those, you hit the paywall and you pay, I think it's like $100 and some odd a year. And it's just going to change the way you do business. Yep. It's like no longer a back and forth thing. It's like, click on the link and get on my schedule.
I spend more time doing that than anything. Right.
Got it. Okay. Jim Feldesman.
There's a lot that you've actually put thoughts in my head, the backgrounds. But some of these sites are, because I work with, insurance and financial services. And some of these, I think, could be a compliance issue.
Correct. I agree. Yes. So you have to check all of that very carefully before you do that. So look into that. Phil County.
Space bar on the mute button. is a wonderful tool.
There we go. Awesome. Adam.
Neil said I was a tech guy, but doing something as simple as making sure that your camera is set like angled correctly when you move into your new apartment so that it doesn't show the bed behind you. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people saw me like fidgeting with it.
Okay. So Adam is a highly respected marketing expert. But Adam, I'm going to give you some coaching. You see the brightness of the windows behind Adam?
Yeah.
You see how you can't see most of his face? So in other words, and that can be fixed very easily by a light in front of him.
I have one right here, just not close enough right now.
Right. No, but also on the left side of your face, it's dark. So
yeah.
if I'm having a meeting with a brand new client opportunity, I want to put my best foot forward. And also a virtual screen here with his logo over his right shoulder would be very powerful as well. So good stuff. David, Whitney? David, you're muted.
Not muted, it's his thing.
No, don't hear you. I'll come back to you. Aviva?
The thing that struck me the most was when you said that we have all these LinkedIn people that we are linked with and we have never met and we've never followed up with. And that struck a huge chord because I think I have like 5,000 LinkedIn contacts and I should probably be going back and looking at a lot of them every day.
That incredible, the number, it's staggering for most people. They just don't, I think most people don't really capitalize the way they could on LinkedIn. I agree with you. Warren Bergstein.
I think the thing I got the most out of it was, first of all, having my video on, which I now do. I didn't before. And I understand that because I do a lot of teaching and it really bothers me when some of the students don't have their video on. I have no idea if they're really listening to me or not.
Yeah.
But I jumped out of bed this morning, got on here and wasn't ready yet to show my face.
Thanks.
I really think that is very important.
Thank you very much. Okay, Avtar. On phone?
Yeah.
All right, move over to Alan Cohen.
Even though I'm not on video, I appreciate the powerfulness of the video and actually that tip about Vidyard I think is very important. I also like your tip about the Bose speaker for my computer. I think that could be very helpful. But the whole session was very helpful as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, Jeffrey Rosen. And Ed McNamara.
Rob, thanks. It was a great presentation. I do have two questions. The first is I find that it'd be great if there's any approach other than just trial and error about learning what seem to be an ever-growing number of platforms. So I'm invited by clients to participate not just on Zoom, but on Microsoft Teams. People are using Slack as a way of staying in the relationship. So that's the first question. The second question is, so much of the presentation was video focused. What about us that were born with a face made for radio?
Yeah, Adam, I don't know if you were on before when I talked about Clubhouse.
Yeah, I was, yes.
Okay, I would download that one today.
Great.
Set up a profile on Clubhouse. I think you need to get invited in. You can search me on Clubhouse, and I've got a certain amount of invites for me to invite you into Clubhouse. And it's all audio. There's no, and by the way, there's not a lot of like, hawking, stalking stuff like LinkedIn where people are trying to sell your stuff. Clubhouse is a forum where you can show your best practices about what you do and to connect with other like-minded people. And it's a great social networking platform and it can lead to business. So I would look into Clubhouse if you have, as you said, a face made for radio. Well, we're right before 9 o'clock. So Neil, I'm handing it back over the fence to you.
Yeah, David, can you speak now or? No. Technological issue. It's good though. It's good to see you.
Hey, it happens. It's a
Listen,
part of
I want to thank everybody and hopefully the next email will be a Vidyard email to everyone, encouraging them to renew their membership as it has been about a year since we really started doing membership. We have 30 paying members and or to join. we'd love you to join. Most people, everybody in this organization is vetted by at least 2 people in the organization. We want to work with top people, and we want top people to work with us. And again, thank you all for coming, and I hope you got something out of it today, and look forward to seeing you again soon. So
Thank
have
you,
a
everybody.
great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Neil.
you.
The sun.
Take care.
Great
Thanks,
day.
Larry.
Rob,
Have a
Thanks,
great
guys. Have a
presentation.
good one.
Everyone,
Thanks, Rob. Excellent,
good job.
as always.
Thanks.